Back to aGLIFF 33 Prism, our final day. And as it goes, as the saying goes, I should say, we've saved the best for last. I'm joined today by an impressive lineup of talented individuals who came together to create a touching film about love, loss, connection, acceptance, and what it truly means to be home in Give or Take. Joining me today is director and co-writer Paul Riccio, co-writer and actor Jamie Efros, who plays the role of Martin, two-time Tony Award winner and star of both stage and screen Norbert Leo Butz, and actress and comedian Sherry O'Terry, who made us laugh out loud during her time on SNL, as well as in a string of films, including Scary Movie, Liar Liar, Dumb and Dumberer, and others. She plays the hearse-chasing real estate agent Hattie King in Give or Take.
I never thought of it that way. That's very the hearse-chasing pet.
My brother is the superintendent of a cemetery and crematorium, so death humor runs in our family. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking some time to chat with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, so I'm going to tell you all that this was one of the first films that I screened after taking over as VP of this crazy virtual festival back in March. And people have been asking me, what to watch and what I liked. And I will say that this film has consistently bubbled to the top of my list, and I've been talking kind of incessantly about it. So I'm super excited to talk to all of you and ask you some questions. So we should jump in, maybe. Paul and Jamie, I'm going to start with you guys. There are so many things I love about this movie. But at the core of it is this beautiful, wonderfully written story. So I need to start with, tell us about the script and what inspired you both to write it.
I guess I'll start. Jamie and I, we go a long way back. We're very good friends, and we've worked together quite a bit, and we really work well together. And I had this kernel of an idea. And Jamie and this character Martin, who loses his father and sorts of has to go up to Cape to take care of his affairs, and that was the kernel of the idea. And I had in my mind Jamie as Martin. And then we got talking, and it seemed very, very obvious that we should actually write it together, because he had a very strong idea of this character. And it's always nice to write with someone. Making films and writing is a very it can be a very lonely sort of existence in a vacuum. So writing with someone is always wonderful. And that was the kernel. That was about 5 years ago, and it was just a wonderful experience. So, Jamie, what would you like to add?
I mean, I think that Paul came to me with this idea, and that he had a very clear vision of, and I think that what I started to bring to it in terms of what I wanted to talk about was the ways in which, no matter who we are, the world tries to sort of hem us in and tell us the story of who we are, and how it tries to sort of put us in a box. And this character trying to do all the things that he thinks the world wants from him, rather than actually being emotionally honest and feeling who he is. And it made me think of the people in my life who are the most honest and are the most dropped into themselves. And they tend to be people who came out of the closet later in life. And there's just some people in my life who are extremely important to me who went through that. And so creating a character as sort of the foil to the Martin character, who had done that, or at least was so completely himself in comparison to what Martin was. started to be sort of this dynamic that we wanted to play with, and we kept kind of growing it from there, and here we are.
So the casting is also just brilliant in this film, in my opinion. Every single actor in the film just completely nails their part. Paul, I think, is it true that you started writing this character, wrote this character, or Paul and Jamie with Norbert in mind to play Ted?
Yes, we had Norbert in mind from the get-go, and it was one of those things where, and Norbert's heard this before, but Jamie and I are there, at my kitchen table writing this thing, and we're saying to ourselves, it would be perfect for Ted, Norbert Leo Butts, and we're like, yeah, yeah, like sure. Let's see if we can get Norbert in between him winning Tonys and doing, top-notch work on television and whatnot. Yeah, Norbert was our first choice, and it was kismet. I mean, it hardly ever happens where, you sort of have someone in mind and it all works out. And in this case, it did. And I over the moon, just couldn't feel more fortunate to work with Norbert and to have, have that all work out. So I was just blessed.
Yeah, and then from there, I remember we got the script to Norbert, like kind of just almost by accident through a friend on Facebook, and when he reacted positively to it, the process of then being able to talk to a casting director and being like, hey, we got this thing, and you might not know us, but this guy, and that's how we could get to Sherry. And when Sherry said yes, it was another moment of just looking at ourselves like, are you kidding here? This is ridiculous. Of course. I mean, and then the rest of the casting process was a real combination of things between the network of New York actors that Paul and I both know from being there for a long time, and working with Ann Goulder, who's a fantastic casting director in New York. And then also doing local casting up on the Cape, because there's a lot of folks from theater there, and coming from a theater background, and a whole bunch, basically everyone. There we go. There's Nantucket up there. It's also an excellent theater town, and we just. We found these incredible local actors who played some of the smaller parts that just made the whole thing shine. And so,
like for instance, Gary Marshall played the Mr. Snow, the funeral director, and I'm sorry, I think he just nailed it. And he just
kind of steals it, doesn't he? He kind of steals it.
Yes.
Just perfect.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And just a wonderful guy, lives up on the Cape. Sort of semi-retired, does voiceovers, and so that was just a lot of things had to happen for this film to happen. A lot of things had to fall in place, and it kind of weirdly did. So yeah, very very lucky, very very fortunate.
So Norbert, you got the script through a friend of a friend on Facebook. How many scripts come to you like like that, and how many of them do you read?
Yeah, I remember it just sort of appeared somewhere, and I mean, sure, you probably know this too, or any actors, you're dying for a good part or a good script, and then like a person hands you something on the subway and says, I'm a really big fan, will you read this? And they're usually a bit stalkerish and a little weird. And I firmly thought that that's what I was in for here. And I was surprised. I got it. I opened it. I started reading it, and I was immediately really moved by it. And yeah, then I just responded to these guys, and then it was like a game of Jenga or something to try to get the schedules to work out, and then money would fall through, and like what Paul and Jamie said, it really was. I don't know, you guys do these films, it's a miracle anything gets done, isn't it? Like you get to the end, you're like, it's a miracle anything gets done. The film really, I don't want to get too personal too quickly, but what Jamie said, you know, I'm from a big Catholic family. I have 10 siblings. I'm the seventh of 11. And I have a brother who was not quite 4 years older than me, who passed away when he was 47. He and he came out later in his life, in middle age. He had two teenage children, a 15-year marriage, and I like went through that journey with him. And you know, we're oh god, this is like getting like into a whole thing, but we're from a very conservative community in Missouri, and that really took the wind out of my brother's sails when he was met with some of the casual bigotry and non-casual bigotry that comes when someone has finally decided to be their true selves, you know, in their late 30s or early 40s. You know, unfortunately, my brother died young. He you know, I look back, he didn't get the support he needed. He became a you know, heavy drinker and a heavy drug user. He passed away at 47. And I read this script and I thought, I just wept and wept and wept, even though it's funny as hell. I think the script is funny as hell, which is what I love about it. But at the core of it, it is a story about grief, and it is a story about the specific grief of this man, who, like Jamie said, the labels never kind of worked for him. You know, he's a gay man in America, but he played college football. He was in the military. He sort of Ted doesn't kind of fit into some of the boxes that the straight or the gay community would put him in. And that was my brother to a T. He was a high school football star. He was incredibly handy. All the things that people assume that, I don't know, a gay man can't be, or some bullshit. I don't know. And so I read the script and I was like, oh, the sweetness that, and the love that comes between Ted and Jamie's character, and Ted, and the role that Joanna plays. You know, I wished that was my brother's experience. So the movie for me was like, I don't know, I thought of him all throughout, and but it was a happy thing. It wasn't a sad thing, but I thought of him all throughout. I thought, man, I wish you had found a way through, because I think Give or Take at the end has a message of hope, you know, and as whatever sentimental as that might sound, or whatever, I really held on to that. There's bad sentiment and there's good sentiment, and I think Give or Take is really the right kind of sentiment, you know. So that's what kind of got me into the film. And once you're hooked like that, you're like, oh, I'll follow this, you know, I just have faith. I was really excited when I found out Sherry was coming aboard. I'm such a huge fan. And like that part, I knew when you read the script, I mean, like that's the part, like there's the story, and then that's the comedy engine of the whole thing. And for them to get Sherry was just, that was like, I was like, this could be really, really good. And so it was a joy.
Well, Sherry, yeah, I mean, talk about nailing a part here. I mean, from the moment that door opens and you're standing there in your boot, which is a whole nother, you know, question and line of questioning, maybe like, was that real or was that part of the script? But your portrayal of Patty King is just phenomenal. How did you find this script, and what compelled you to get involved?
Well, it just came to me, and the first thing I do is like I'll look at a part, and I was laughing. Even when I was going on tape, I put myself on tape for it. I was laughing with the person, like we were doing it at my door, coming to my door, with the casserole, and I just kept laughing. Like, but then it was, you know, I know it was serious, but it's just that type of person, that disingenuous, genuine, you know, kind of person who's got such an agenda and who's feigning condolences and sympathy. But when I read the script, first I read the part, and then when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I thought, wow. I was picturing it as I was reading it, and you don't get these stories come to you very often. I'll say, like, you read scripts, and I just thought it touched everything. Just the thing of, Martin, you're seeing the world through his eyes. And you're in his position, and you feel his, like, resentment, not just because of the the divorce, but then what happened afterwards, and that his father leaves his mother for a man, and there was so many layers to what Martin had to go through, and then you go and you meet these cast of characters on Cape Cod, and I'm picturing it when I'm reading it, and when I finally did see the finished product, I was like, oh my God, these characters all came alive, even more brilliantly sometimes than what I saw on the page. It was just a cast of characters in Cape Cod that it was almost like it could be a series. It was just, I want to follow these people in their journey. And of course, when I found out Norbert was doing it, I was just like, and I read the Ted part, I was just like, oh, I can't wait to see what he does. I cannot wait to see what he does. It was, and it's what's so funny in this business, then I call my agent and manager and I go, hey, this is good, because I know none of them read it, right? None of them read it. And so I'll call them back and said, this is amazing. And like, I never do that. I go, just FYI, I know you don't care, but I want to do this. I really want to do this. This is an amazing story. I love this character, and I'm in. I'm all in. And it was just, and the movie turned out as beautiful as I pictured it.
I'm gonna steal that.
I did too. Like a few weeks before, I broke my foot. Right, so I call Paul and I go, "Oh God, I got some bad news," and I go, "I broke my foot," and he's like, "Oh no," and then I go, "I'm in a boot, and I can't take the boot off for anything," and he's like, "All right, we'll just work it in," and so it kind of made it funnier because she still insists on the other foot to wear a pump. And it was just so much fun to, like, almost not even give attention to it until Jamie's character says, because there's this great line where it says, let me see, unlike my foot, it's no accident that I've got a 5-star rating on Trulia. And he goes, and Jamie goes, yeah, what did happen to your foot? Oh, I fell off a fence. So tell me, how many square feet would you say?
Sherry, you're burying the lead. You're burying Paul.
No, and so, Sherry, broken foot, soft cast, even with that, she's like, I've got an idea. What if we shoot a little, quick cutaway, a little flashback to me actually going over a fence. Like I'm so eager to take pictures of a certain property. I want a certain listing that I'm actually breaking into someone's home to take the pictures. I said, Sherry, we barely have insurance to cover, the production. I'm not sure if we can cover, stunt people and you going over a fence. Let's maybe not do that. So, but I thought it was a great idea. It was a great idea.
I thought it was a far more artistic choice. I thought Sherry wanted to symbolize like Patty's broken spirit, like the imbalance in her soul. I thought it was a metaphor. I'm just learning this was an actual broken foot. I didn't really. I thought it was an artistic choice, but I should have known better with Sherry.
But seriously,
I mean,
if anyone wants to know the dedication that Sherry O'Terry has to a part, one, to get an audition tape from Sherry O'Terry that starts off with her own front door opening, and there she is with the casserole. Just about, I fell off my chair. That was the first one. And then to have her show up on set with this broken foot and to be like, okay, I've got this idea. I'm gonna fall off the fence. We're gonna. It was just like, oh my God. I mean, it was so fantastic. And she just was like 100% all the time. And I just.
You know what? I know when something is good. When I read this, I was like, oh my God, you know, this is really, really good. And
yeah, Sherry, you said something, and I had the exact same experience. I love my people, my manager, my agents. I got real pushback on this, man. I had to really, it's one of the few gigs where I had to stand my ground and say, guys, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it. And it's not that they didn't, we hire them to make sure, get us money. You know what I mean? These aren't money gigs, these small films, but I totally agree with Sherry. You read something, you're like, man, it's been like years since I've gotten to do such a well-written script. I want to fucking do this, It's like,
for me, I'm telling you, so few and far between. So few and far between. So when I do discover something that it's like, oh my gosh. And you know what? If it did offer a lot of money, I probably wouldn't have every agent would be pushing their
right.
Right? But because it wasn't a big budget, I got lucky.
Yeah. So I'm exactly the same. You got to grab them. You just got to say, life's too short, man. These are the kind of stories I wanted to tell when I these are the movies I would go see and laugh.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. This is the kind of movie I would go see. When you were saying the movies that I was in, I'm almost like, guy. And you forgot Inspector Gadget, that cinema classic. The thing is, because when you are known for doing something like, here I am known for SNL and everything, you're just going to get the biggest, broadest, most, I remember someone saying to me one time, the great thing about you, Sherry, is you don't care about what you look like. And I know in their mind, because I did characters, and I go, yeah, I'm glad that's your takeaway. It's kind of like what you get offered, they see you in just such a box. And when I see something that's both funny and poignant and has a point of view, it's kind of like, and then the story surrounding it is amazing. It's the excitement inside of me, because I don't get the opportunity to do things that I'm so proud of, that I feel like a kid. Yes, the money matters, but then as long as you can keep a roof over your head and you get the opportunity to do something like this, you jump on it.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, my script's out the window. I could just sit here and listen to the four of you talk to each other for 30 minutes. It's no wonder this was such a great combination of personalities here. Paul and Jamie, I don't know if this is the first time you're hearing these two gush about your script, but what does it mean to you to hear actors of their stature talk about your work like that?
It's overwhelming, and it started before when we were in the casting process. And I don't think I'm a pessimist. I think I'm an optimist. I think I see the glass half full. But I think all people, you've got a slight, creative people, you're always guessing yourself. You're always second guessing yourself. You're always questioning yourself. You're always, is this any good? Do I suck? Am I any good? Is this writing any good? And so when you get that initial feedback where Norbert is saying, yeah, this is great, I'd love to do it, and Sherry O'Terry is sending you tapes of herself in her house with the casserole, and like, holy shit, Sherry O'Terry, who I grew up worshiping, and one of my favorites. And it's this sort of thing where it's like, if you dream about working with these people, and then it becomes a reality. It's overwhelming. it's overwhelming, and it's very, very satisfying. And the fact that you know, that we all got this part of our lives together to make this film together means it just means the world to me. So it's wonderful hearing them talk about the film this way, and it's you know, I can't say anymore. It really is something.
I have a question for you, Paul, really quick. Are you at summer camp? That looks like the camp from like Little Fox, like, you know, from like Wet Hot American Summer. Are you like literally at a summer camp?
I'm at a camp.
You have like little roommates, like 10.
I have little roommates. Well, this year
Did you get a top bunk? Did you get a top bunk?
This year I'm a counselor in training. I'm a CIT. I just got a wet willy. And I've also been given a wedgie.
Somebody outside the window.
There's a hooded person in the background. Dude, I would not send my kids.
I'm in a cabin in the woods by myself. It's very frightening. It's just a thing I'm going through. No, I'm actually in a little house on a lake. So I escaped New York after 5.5 months of being in the apartment, and so I am
still in the background. No, the creepy dude's still in the background. Anyway, sorry.
I just want to piggyback on what Paul said about hearing these guys talk about the script, because like it really is like it's deeply affecting and moving for me to hear that from you guys, because you know when we first all met on set, you know, you have this much time to actually like talk to people before it's like go time, because we, you know, our schedule was just stacked, and we're trying to maximize their time because, you know, we've got to do everything we can in as little time as possible. And definitely on set they were complimentary, and they were and I heard some of this stuff, but it's like you can't even hear it because you've got the buzz of a million things in the background. So to be able to have this much distance from the finished product and from the experience itself, and to hear both of you guys talk about it like this, it's like, yeah, I can't even express what it means to me. It's really awesome.
To be very proud. You should really be very proud. There's not many scripts that have this kind of storytelling, and all the characters are so kind of well thought out. And it was just such a beautiful message. Oh, my friend who's gay, who lives in New York, years and years ago, we worked together at A&M Records, and here both of our paths took such a turn. And yet he just lost his father, and he read it, and he saw it, he watched it, and he said, "Sherry, I cried." And I think so much of this guy's opinion. And he's like, "I cried. That was so beautiful." And especially just losing my dad the way I did and everything. And it was just, and for him to say that, I'm like, all right, I know I'm not, you know, it's not just me.
Wow, you guys. So we're almost out of time already, and I've got like 100 more questions that we're not going to get to, I know. But there are a couple more specific scenes that I want to talk about before I let you guys go. I now have two absolutely remarkable ways to decompress and hand my life over to the universe after watching this movie. One is getting in a garbage can full of water and closing the lid. And the other is digging a hole in the sand on a beach and getting a different perspective on life. And I have to ask, where did these ideas come from, and why has there not been a book written about such practices?
The think tank, the garbage can filled with water, that was autobiographical. I used to do that as a child myself. I grew up in a crappy little city in Connecticut called Bridgeport, Connecticut. Just think the opposite of Greenwich, and that's what Bridgeport is. And I was kind of a lonely kid. I used to just keep myself busy taking practically, perfectly good bicycles and taking them apart and making them unworking bicycles, things like that. And one of the things I used to do is is I would take a garbage pail from behind the house. I would, because I'm a Virgo, so I would scrub it out with an SOS pad first and clean it out, and then I would fill it up with water with the garden hose, and then I would just get in it, and I would just sit in it for hours and hours, and I would sing, and just have my own little world in there. I didn't have the step system with the milk crates like in the movie. My system was a bit more difficult. I actually had to just tip myself over to get out of it, and the water would just go everywhere. But yeah, that was autobiographical. And then the weed hole was just, I don't know, it was just something that Jamie and I came up with in the script, I think, just the idea.
Yeah, they came up with it. They just came up with it.
Right.
Just
That's
out of
right.
thin air.
Yes. But
They
yeah,
never
the
done
weed hole
hole on
was,
the beach and had it. No, just
no,
came
never.
up.
Just never.
Well, Sherry, I have to ask you, you started all of this madness ringing in the new year with Anderson Cooper and absolutely brilliantly shutting him down in laughter with your portrayal of Barbara Walters announcing this is 2020. When you look back at that moment and then you see how this year has unraveled, what are you thinking, and how
Well,
have
let
you
me tell
been
you
spending
something.
your days?
I talked to Andy Cohen after we did that when the pandemic started, and I said, Andy, I think it might be fun to do what does Barbara think of 2020 now, right? To do kind of a catch up with Barbara, and so we did it. And I wrote it, and it was on Watch What Happens Live because I was the guest on his Watch What Happens Live with Rob Gronkowski, which was hysterical. So he had no idea who Barbara Walters was. And, but I was myself on the beginning of the show. And then at the end, we did the Barbara Walters thing. And it was all about what she's doing now that there's a pandemic. So it wasn't lost on anybody. It was so much fun. I mean, if you wanted to see, you could, but and that whole thing started a year before. I said, Andy, now that 2020 is coming, it might be fun to do a Barbara Walters, all that thing. This is 2020, and so I wrote it on a plane coming back from Florida, and and the funny thing is, I didn't know what those guys were doing at all, so I didn't know that they were laughing or anything. I was committed to the camera. And then when I went back, I was told that Anderson kept getting out of frame, dropping out of frame. And I was so glad that those guys were kept in the frame because it was more fun to see them, as much fun really to see them reacting than it made what I was doing, I think, more fun visually, but thank you. It was quite an experience.
And Norbert, not to take a drastic turn here, but I do some work in theater here in Austin with the regional theater, Zach Scott Theater, as well as with the Broadway tours. Broadway's dark and filming has stopped. How is that playing out in your world? With, I've got to imagine, just well, everybody on this call probably is feeling the effects of it. But what are you up to these days, and what does the future of stage and film look like?
I don't know, and I have to just be okay with not knowing. Every day I want to know, and every day I have to accept that I don't know. I'm actually going back to work. I had shot a pilot for NBC when this was all going down, and we were like 3 days from finishing this pilot, and I thought I was going to be done. And we found out a couple of weeks ago, NBC is going to go ahead and we're going to go back up. They've done the smart thing in Canada, and they can go back to work there. So I'll head back up to Vancouver on September 13th. I have to do a strict 2-week quarantine. I'll have an app on my phone that the government will literally track. You can be fined $250,000 if I leave my hotel during this 2-week self-isolation. That's the way they're doing it. That's why they you know, that's why their film industry is getting back up. They're starting to do social distancing theater again. My wife and I are actually thinking about bringing our 4th grader up to Vancouver and putting her in a Canadian school because the kids can actually go to school.
Wow.
It's an unprecedented time. Some days, I won't kid you, it's very, very bleak. And other days, I see how people are using like Zoom, other platforms to make really interesting plays, to make, you know, digital plays.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Was that just a little peek into how you talk to your animal, Sherry? Holy cow. That's insane.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but it's almost too much to bear. I have so many friends who are leaving New York City, actors, singer, dancers. We just have to hope and pray that once this gets back up, it's going to be stronger than ever. But right now, I'll be totally honest and say I'm completely bewildered.
Paul and Jamie, before I let you guys go, what are the implications of all of this for you? You've essentially been robbed of the film festival experience as we had come to know it. How has it been rolling out the film during a worldwide pandemic?
I miss seeing people. I miss congregating with people and hugging people and celebrating this film together, because it took a lot of effort and a lot of people to make this film. So that's what I miss. I've embraced this whole idea of the virtual film festivals, though, and I think in many respects, like your festival, instead of being just local to Austin, the whole state of Texas can now see the film, and I think that's the way I'm looking at it. I think we're going to probably end up having more eyeballs on the film than we would have in a live setting. But the one thing I miss is hugging people and kissing people and being with people, and that's life. That's life. So that's what I miss. But I think just as far as rolling out the film, it's been wonderful. I give you guys credit for getting this thing together. It's just a Herculean task, and to sort of pivot months before as you're gearing up for a live festival and deciding, well, it's all online now. I know how difficult that is. So I just kudos to you guys for getting this done. Really amazing, and making such a wonderful festival, and a special, making this all feel very special.
Yeah, and I think that most people don't really realize that, like, planning a film festival like yours is a year-long endeavor. This isn't something that you just like do for a couple of months. It takes all year, and it's a ton of work. And to be able to pivot in the way that you guys have, and to be able to successfully make these films available in the way that you have, and for things to be as seamless and as welcoming and as exciting as they possibly can be during this time. It really is like just kudos to all you guys. You've done a fantastic job. And for us, I echo what Paul said. Like, I think that it is possible that we will have more people to see the movie this way, which would be great. And I mean, a movie like this, which, like, honestly is probably headed towards a streaming release in general. It's like, but we would love to have a theatrical release if that was something that could possibly happen. But, like, in all honesty, it's probably where we're going to land. So we're still heading in that direction. And and for us, I mean, it's, on the one hand, this is me and Paul's first feature. And so to not be able to do the festival circuit on your first feature is pretty heartbreaking. To not be able to, like, just rub shoulders with everybody and see films in the same way, and, like, do the whole festival thing, which we've both done on shorts before, is that sucks. But at the same time, at least we have the advantage of not knowing what it's like in regular times. So we don't even know what we're missing, really.
Well, so in a short 40 minutes, I've come to the realization that when Sherry O'Terry is on a Q&A, you really can't prepare for timing. Like, just anything's gonna happen. You guys, I thank you for the extra time. This is just a remarkable piece of work, and I know I share Norbert and Sherry's sentiment when I say just a brilliant all-around job to both of you, Paul and Jamie, on this piece of art. It's really great. So yeah, I'm gonna have to bring our time to an end, unfortunately, but I want to remind everybody there are still hours and hours to binge today on aGLIFF 33 Prism, and so if you haven't gotten to some things, now's the time to log on. If you haven't seen this movie, you know, I highly recommend it. If you have seen it, there's still hours and hours of time to watch it again, because it's that good. And you can find the full film festival schedule and everything that's available right now at aGLIFF.org/schedule. And thank you again, Sherry O'Terry, Norbert Leo Butts, Paul Riccio, and Jamie Efrons. Such a pleasure to talk to all of you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. I love you guys.
Love you
Love
too.
you guys.
Miss you all. Miss you all very much.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, stream is cut. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So much fun to
So
listen
cool. Yeah, thank you so much. This was just a pure joy.
Well, it means the world, your thoughts, so and the support. So thank you very much for everything, and again, thanks for having us at the festival. It's really an honor.
to. Thanks for sharing the film with us. Thank you for your brilliant artistry.
Well, thank
All
you.
three of you.
Thanks
And
very
Sherry,
much.
it's so good to see you.
I know,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's 4 of them. There's Rebecca.
What? He's gone. Leo's gone, so I'm not talking to him
Leo's gone.
anymore.
Okay. Okay.
He was like, I stopped the stream, and he's like, I'm out. I got things to do. So yeah, so there's only 3 people left for me to say thank you to. So.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Okay.
one
It's
question.
technology.
I'm actually keep getting a question from my producer on text here. This is recorded, right? And
Yeah, I can get you a copy of it if you want.
Oh, that would be amazing if you could get us a copy of it.
Yeah. I know Paul and I have been emailing back and forth quite a bit. So just if you will send me a reminder this week, because it's going to be crazy for me to like tie this all up, but I'm going to not edit them down, but just edit off the filler at the start where, you know, people were pulling hairs out of their nose and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Am I
I'll send it to
correct? It's available. It's going to be available to watch for the next couple of days.
Just till the end of the festival, which is tonight. So yeah, people will be able to watch the Q&A for the rest of the day. But then it'll live forever, and you know, you can have it and repost it. Maybe we'll repost it, whatever. I mean,
Awesome.
whatever you want to do with it.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you an email reminder.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this was great. Really, really, really great. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye, Sharon.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye, honey.
Bye.